Here's a thought experiment. Imagine you and your friends are in a room and somebody comes in and hands each of you a box. You're told that you can look into your own box, but you cannot look into your friend's box. So you take a look into your box and you see a beetle. And let's say your beetle is a kind of a dark green color. Now, each of your friends do exactly the same thing. They each look into their box and they see some beetle with some color, maybe black or maybe a reddish color, whatever. Now, here's the point. You can look in your box, but you can't look into your friend's box. But you can ask them questions. So how do you know what your friends tell you is in their box is anything like what's in your box? Right? So you say, in my box is a greenish looking beetle. And your friend says, I also have a greenish looking beetle. And then another friend says, oh, I have a beetle, but my beetle is kind of a dark brownish, blackish color. And then another friend says, yeah, I have a beetle too, but it's kind of a weird reddish purple color. How do you know what they're saying is true? How do you know they really do have beetles in their boxes? How do you know what they are talking about is anywhere similar to what you're talking about? Seems like you can't know since you can't directly look into their box. All you can really go on is what they say. But how is that supposed to help us? How do you know that when they use the word beetle, their word beetle refers to the same thing that your word beetle refers to? And how do you know when they use the word darkish greenish, how do you know that refers to your meaning of the word darkish greenish? Ditto for red or brown or black or what have you. How do you know that these color words refer to the same things that you're talking about? Right? The words beetle and the word darkish green may refer to something entirely different. Maybe when they look in their box, they're using the word beetle to refer to a paperclip. Maybe they have a darkish greenish paperclip. Or maybe when they're using the word darkish greenish, it really means something like a light bluish, right? So when they look in their box, they see a light bluish paperclip. And they say to you it's a dark greenish beetle, but really it's a light bluish paperclip. How would you ever know since you cannot look into their box? You can only look into your own box. It looks like the only thing we can really go on here is analysis of their language, which is a kind of a behavioral analysis. Now, this thought experiment was raised by a philosopher named Wittgenstein, and he was raising this thought experiment for the purpose of trying to show why introspective knowledge, introspective evidence, is not really all that reliable, right? Because we don't have the kind of third person observational access, right? It can't be verified, it can't be double checked by other people, right? Only you can look into your box and see the greenish beetle. You can't look into the other boxes and see what they have. This is supposed to represent, it's supposed to be kind of a metaphor for your mind, right? You can only look into your own mind and see your own thoughts. You only have this unique privileged introspective access to what's going on in your own mind. You don't have that unique privileged access to your friends' minds. And so when we say, oh, I have a beetle in my box, and your friend says, I also have a beetle in my box, then we need to have some sort of shared meaning of our words. We need to be able to triangulate about what we mean when we use words like beetle and dark green and so forth. Without that shared meaning with regard to the way that we're using our words, then we wouldn't ever know what we're talking about. We would have no way to know whether what you say is anywhere similar or maps onto the sort of things that I'm saying. Right, so it's that third person observational access of shared meaning, this behavioral way of talking about what's in a box. That's the kind of evidence that we should be relying upon. Introspective evidence, where we looked directly into our own conscious life and recognize what's going on, phenomenally speaking, in your mental life, that sort of evidence is not available to other people. And so that evidence should not be accepted as legitimate evidence when we're doing scientific investigations about what's going on in someone's mind. So this thought experiment about having a beetle in the box then is supposed to help us recognize the problem with other people's minds, why it's so difficult to know about what's going on in other people's minds, or whether they even have a mind. I know that there are other minds out there when all I have to go on is observation of their behavior and their use of their language. If I have to rely upon our introspective access, this privileged way of looking into my own thoughts and my own mind, right? Well, I only have that for myself. I don't have that for other people. And so that kind of introspective evidence is, in some sense, illegitimate. Instead, I should be relying upon behavioral evidence through the use of language, a shared meaning about our words. That's what this thought experiment about a beetle in the box is supposed to help us recognize. And so with that in mind, I want you to be thinking about this question of with regard to introspective evidence versus third person observational evidence, where we recognize the way people are behaving, the language they're using, the shared meaning of our words, and so forth. This distinction between two different forms of evidence is important for our discussion of the problem of other people's minds.